Hi, good afternoon. This is Meredith Lego, and I'm doing a series of videos of channeled teachings from Ascended Master Hilarion. And if you haven't seen before, basically, an Ascended Master is an individual who basically has ascended the need to reincarnate again and again and again. And so they then have the ability, if you can tune into them, to sort of teach us about how to go through that process and ascend. And I've learned a lot about life and life situations. So what I tend to do when I'm channeling is during or after a meditation, I basically ask a series of questions, sort of in a Q&A format. I get back some answers. Now, I've done some past videos on the concept of what the quantum field is, the source field, and how it can be how it is kind of set up as a construct or a hologram to basically allow us to experience the outcome of our thoughts and intentions. So essentially, every time we have an intention or a thought, we sort of put that out. It through sound vibrations basically creates the formation of physical reality that we are experiencing, and then that then sort of mirrors back to us to let us know truly what we're feeling inside. And so those were previous sessions on the quantum field or source field, and then mirroring. Now I want to get into a couple of videos that's going to talk about the concept of polarity, because that polarity is actually a really important tool, as I learned from Hilarion, to help us learn from. So it's, obviously when you kind of think about polarity, he'll describe it, but in the simplest terms, it's the complete opposites. And so, you wouldn't be able to learn one side without experiencing the other. Like, you can't experience good and know what it really is until you really understand what bad is. So it's actually been set up as a tool inside of the holographic construct, if you will, for us to learn through in a school, in essence. So the question that I asked in this particular session was, Hilarion, please describe polarity. How does it serve as an education tool in the third dimension? The answer is, polarity is the concept of completely opposite vibrations of energy. These vibrations are always available in all dimensions, but they are more magnified in lower dimensions where souls are still discerning and learning how to work and manifest within polarity. So what he's saying here is that, look, I had thought maybe polarity was just in our dimension, in the kind of third density / dimension, but he was saying, no, they're actually in a lot more dimensions. It's just that we're still, especially in the lower dimensions, they're more extreme, because that's actually how you can better learn through. He goes on to say that first, all is source. Source is just that which manifests all energy. It is all one energy field. All that is, was, and ever will be. As this is the case, all energy vibrations of the opposite spectrum, light, dark, good, evil, love, hate, are all source. They are all the same field. So I guess whenever you're sort of in a situation and you're thinking, oh my gosh, those people are so evil, or how can they be that way? It's just a good time to sit back and remember that it's actually you, and literally we're all part of one quantum entangled energy field. And so everything from the best of humanity to the worst of humanity, or the best, all extremes are part of source. It's all one field, just having different vibrational frequency experiences. He goes on to say that each soul has free will. This is an important learning tool because free will allows a soul to independently learn and embed within itself lessons of truth that lower entropy. And what he means by that is that, essentially what we're trying to do is lower the amount sort of energy or chaos to, I think as all beings kind of evolve, they want to evolve in the most efficient way. And so by going through choices in a polarized world, if you will, it becomes through free will. We have free will in the choices of highly polarized situations. Doing that allows us to independently learn through kind of repeats and failures, ultimately the best path that will lower entropy or essentially create more efficiency with our evolution. In the third dimension, souls often see polarity, such as light, dark, right, wrong, from a place of absolute. So in other words, we see like extreme opposites. Because souls feel or believe they are separate, they do not understand that all perspectives are part of themselves, one being, one energy. As souls or beings begin to understand and awaken to the knowingness that all is source, they understand that beings who commit evil are in fact part of source. Often, they have a hard time rationalizing love towards others they perceive as evil, for they still feel a sense of separation. By definition, those who commit evil acts on others feel separate from others. Like if you're committing evil acts, you probably feel very separate from others and other energies in the world. However, evil and good, love and hate work in union or unison to drive growth and help to increase frequencies over time. For you see, often the greatest challenges or evils can be most brilliantly disguised as the greatest teachers of light and love. For those who commit pure acts of evil bring a compelling upliftment of unity and love in others. When the evil becomes too great, the belt must break and love prevails. So if you think about that concept, when you get to one extreme of kind of a polarized situation, in this particular case, he's bringing up evil, what happens is that it becomes too much for people. I think people, especially if they're heart-based, it's just too much, and it causes a swing towards love. So you kind of saw that play out, let's say in the United States during 9/11. There was a perception that there was sort of this great evil, but essentially it brought out love and unity among the people in that situation. And that you see that kind of play out with anything that kind of goes on that is heart-wrenching to watch, like let's say a natural disaster. That can obviously bring unity and love in humanity towards those who were unfortunate enough to experience that situation. So what he's saying is that oftentimes one polarizing situation can actually, while we might think about it that way, it's actually brilliantly disguised as a great teacher to create the other extreme. He goes on to say that as souls mature in understanding, the degrees of polarity, lessons, and challenges attracted through frequencies can and still exist, but the souls do not perceive their experience and environment in such stark contrast. So in other words, as you sort of raise your consciousness awareness, and as you kind of ascend up the frequencies, there's still polarity out there, but your perception of them isn't quite as extreme, because you might have come to more of a neutral point of understanding about the roles that the various polarities play in the evolution, not only of you, but of all beings, basically. So that the contrast of black and white, or right or wrong, are not so extreme in your understanding. He goes on to say that perception of consciousness changes. They understand that dark and light are both one, different aspects of itself, both working and manifesting to create balance. Souls who understand this do not judge evil as evil. They see it as a vibration energy state that creates evolution and change. Often they understand it to manifest in souls who live in fear and are in need of much love from self and others. Beings with this understanding also have a great ability to transmute lower vibrational energies, simply with a kind word, a smile, or sending a feeling of love and light in others. So what he's saying here is that essentially, when you get to a point where you understand the roles that different polarities can play, you just take a different perspective of what's going on around you. And oftentimes, you can kind of see individuals who might have enormous fear kind of playing out within themselves. And at that point, you start to take compassion for those particular situations and have the ability to transmute that like fear, which often manifests in evil, unfortunately, in others. So there is no concept of judgment, right or wrong. There just is energy manifesting, experiencing, and evolving. So what he's saying here is that sort of in this universe, this universal construct that we sort of are learning in the reality, Source doesn't have a concept of right or wrong because you've got both polarities to learn through. It's just, they're set up for us to, first of all, experience. And, there's, like I said, no right or wrong. It's just Source having an experience through one extreme or the other. But through that experience, ultimately going through scenario after scenario after scenario of experiences in such a way to learn which experiences ultimately will reduce entropy and create more efficiency and evolution. And I think ultimately the universe and what I've experienced through this whole process, that it's really the experiences which are higher vibrational, which are most often associated with just sort of beingness or completeness, love and compassion, which ultimately lower entropy. So I think that kind of gets into the whole concept of polarity. I did have another question that I wanted to ask that isn't so much about polarity, but I was just kind of curious. So I said, I have a theory, the Big Bang will eventually fold back onto itself. Thoughts? I was just kind of curious about that. Hilarion basically says energy went out in separation. So, you had like a bundle of consciousness or energy and it went out in separation. But as energy learns to be love and light, energy returns to Source and folds back in. Right now, the galaxy is expanding, but those areas closest to the central sun are collapsing back in. So basically, hopefully that helped with some of the basic understandings of polarity and how it can become a very important teaching tool for us in sort of the learning game that we're in, or the learning construct, because ultimately we do have free will. So we have the free will to have thoughts and intentions and feelings and actions. And with that free will, we can manifest among multiple extremes of polarity, but ultimately we as individual manifestations of Source basically learn and evolve through that process, and thereby help all of Source to learn and evolve. So hopefully you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you resonate with the overall content, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Thanks. Bye.